The clatter of plates and the hum of conversation filled Carter's diner, but it all faded into silence for Maya Sterling as she slid into a booth with her husband, Evan. They had just come from an art gallery opening, their tailored outfits blending elegance with understated confidence. Yet within seconds they were met with cold indifference. "Excuse me?" Maya said, leaning forward to catch the waitress's eye. "We'd like to order." Dottie Grayson barely glanced at them before turning away, muttering under her breath about keeping traditions alive. Her lips curled into a sneer as she approached another table instead. "This isn't your kind of place, sweetheart," Dottie finally snapped, loud enough for nearby patrons to hear. Maya's jaw tightened, but her voice remained steady. "We're here to eat just like everyone else." Before Dottie could respond, Harold Carter emerged from the kitchen, his burly frame commanding attention. Instead of diffusing the tension, he doubled down. "I reserve the right to serve whoever aligns with my community standards," Harold declared, his tone dripping with condescension. Evan stood abruptly, his fists clenched. "Your standards are rooted in prejudice." Harold smirked, reaching out to snatch Maya's phone mid-recording. With a sharp crack, he shattered it against the tiled floor. "Get out of my diner," Harold bellowed, pointing toward the exit. As Maya grabbed Evan's arm to pull him away, she whispered fiercely, "You know what this means, don't you?" Outside the diner, the cool night air did little to calm Maya's simmering anger. Her hands trembled, not from fear, but from resolve. "You know what this means, don't you?" she repeated, her voice low but laced with determination. Evan nodded grimly. "It means war." A memory surfaced unbidden, a younger Marcus Sterling stepping onto a stage, accepting accolades as the youngest graduate of Harvard Law School. Cameras flashed, reporters shouted questions, and pride swelled in Maya's chest. That moment wasn't just a personal triumph. It was preparation for battles like this one. Marcus would understand. He always did. Growing up, he'd faced his own share of discrimination. Teachers who underestimated him, peers who mocked his ambitions. But each slight only fueled his drive to dismantle systems designed to hold people like him down. Maya pulled out her backup phone and sent Marcus a text containing the video footage of the incident. She didn't need to explain further. Son would see the injustice written plainly across every frame. Minutes later, her phone buzzed with his reply, "I'll handle it." Even through a screen, Maya could feel the weight of his promise. Justice might be delayed, but it wouldn't be denied, not while Marcus Sterling still drew breath. As she tucked the phone back into her purse, a figure approached from the shadows. Maya turned to find a young woman standing near the diner's entrance, notebook in hand. "Mrs. Sterling?" the journalist asked cautiously. "Lila Harper. I cover civil rights issues for the Daily Advocate. I saw what happened inside." Maya hesitated, glancing at Evan. His expression mirrored her uncertainty. Trusting strangers came with risks, especially when racism was involved. "If you're willing to share your story," Lila continued, "I think we can expose more than just tonight's incident. There's a pattern here, one that stretches back years." Her words lingered, planting seeds of possibility. If Harold's actions weren't isolated, then taking him down could spark broader change. Maya glanced at her phone again, thinking of Marcus. Whatever decision she made now would ripple outward, shaping the fight ahead. "I'll consider it," she said finally, leaving room for negotiation. As Lila nodded and stepped back, Maya felt the first stirrings of hope. Change often began with small steps, but those steps could lead to seismic shifts. And somewhere across town, Marcus Sterling sat frozen in his office chair, replaying the video footage over and over. Each frame burned hotter than the last, igniting a fire that refused to be extinguished. Lila's proposal hung in the air like smoke after a storm, potent yet unpredictable. "Going public could shine a light on systemic issues," she explained, her tone measured. "But it won't be easy. People will attack your character, question your motives. Are you ready for that?" Maya exhaled slowly, weighing the risks. Silence offered safety, but silence also perpetuated harm. We've been silent too long, Evan interjected, his voice firm. If this helps others stand up, then yes. It's worth it. Maya nodded, though doubt flickered in her eyes. The road ahead promised both allies and adversaries, victories and setbacks. Still, hesitation gave way to resolve. All right, she said, extending her hand to Lila. Let's do this. As the journalist jotted notes, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that their lives were about to change forever. And far away, Marcus's fingers hovered over his keyboard, ready to rewrite not just Harold's fate, but perhaps the future itself. By morning, hashtags like John Justice for Sterling's and Boycott Carter's Diner were trending nationwide. Supporters praised Maya and Evan as symbols of resilience, while detractors painted them as opportunists stirring unnecessary drama. Comment sections devolved into battlegrounds, with locals fiercely defending Harold's Diner as a pillar of tradition. Why can't they just leave things alone? One user wrote. This place has been here for decades without issue. Maya scrolled through her phone, her stomach churning at the vitriol hurled her way. Meanwhile, Marcus worked tirelessly behind the scenes. He filed a formal complaint with the city council, citing blatant violations of anti-discrimination laws. This is bigger than us now, Marcus told his parents over the phone. If we don't hold him accountable, who will? But accountability came at a cost. Within hours, Harold retaliated by hiring Victor Langley, a high-profile attorney known for shielding businesses from lawsuits rooted in bias. Victor wasted no time issuing statements that portrayed Maya and Evan as aggressors seeking attention rather than justice. They're exploiting this incident for clout, Victor claimed during an interview. Harold Carter runs a respectable establishment. As public opinion teetered precariously, Maya felt the weight of scrutiny pressing down on her. Yet even amidst the chaos, she noticed something unsettling closer to home. Her coworkers' attitudes shifting subtly, almost imperceptibly. At first, it was small things, emails going unanswered, invitations to meetings mysteriously omitted. Then came the whispers, snippets of conversations halting abruptly when Maya entered the room. It wasn't until Rachel Monroe approached her under the guise of concern that the sabotage became undeniable. I heard some people talking about you, Rachel said softly, feigning empathy. They think your situation might be affecting your focus at work. My situation? Maya echoed, her voice sharp. You mean standing up against racism? Rachel recoiled slightly but pressed on. I'm just saying perception matters. Maybe laying low for a bit would help. Later that day, Maya discovered private emails between herself and Lila Harper had leaked online. The messages detailed strategies for exposing Harold's discriminatory practices, twisted out of context to paint Maya as vindictive. You've got to be kidding me, Evan muttered when she showed him. Who did this? Though no proof pointed directly to Rachel, Maya couldn't ignore the timing, or Rachel's sudden interest in her personal life. Betrayal stung worse than outright hostility because it hid behind a mask of friendship. Frustration simmered within her, threatening to boil over. Still, she reminded herself why she'd started this fight, not for validation, but for change. And yet, as tensions mounted elsewhere, another fracture surfaced closer to Evan. Evan found Tyler outside, the hardware store where he worked part-time, stacking shelves with mechanical precision. When Evan called his name, Tyler froze before turning around slowly. I need to talk to you, Evan said, his tone clipped. Tyler sighed, setting down a wrench. Look, I know what happened at the diner was wrong. Wrong? Evan interrupted. Incredulous. It was racist and you stood there, you saw everything. I didn't want to lose my job, Tyler shot back, defensive. What was I supposed to do? Start a scene? You could have said something, Evan countered, his voice rising. Anything, but instead you stayed silent. Silence makes you complicit, Tyler. The words hung heavy between them, cutting deeper than any insult. Tyler looked away, shame flickering across his face. I never agreed with Harold, he mumbled, but I didn't think it mattered. It matters, Evan snapped. because staying quiet lets people like him keep winning. Their friendship fractured under the weight of unspoken truths. As Evan walked away, he realized betrayal wasn't always malicious. It was often cowardly. Meanwhile, Marcus uncovered evidence that revealed just how far Harold's prejudices stretched. During depositions, Marcus pored over decades-old staff, training manuals, each page riddled with coded language masking discriminatory intent. Phrases like maintain cultural harmony, translated to exclusionary practices targeting minorities. This isn't isolated, Marcus explained to Maya and Evan during a late-night call. Harold has systematically denied service to blacks patrons for years, we can prove it. But Victor Langley struck back hard. He orchestrated a smear campaign, feeding stories to local media that cast Marcus as opportunistic, a lawyer using family grievances for personal gain. Marcus Sterling isn't fighting for justice, Victor declared in a press release. He's leveraging tragedy for fame. Public opinion wavered. Even some supporters began questioning Marcus's motives, swayed by Victor's carefully crafted narrative. Frustration gnawed at Marcus as key pieces of evidence were dismissed in court, due to procedural errors. For every step forward, 2 steps backward followed. Doubt crept in, not just from others but from within himself. Then came the final blow. Influential clients aligned with Harold pressured Marcus's firm to suspend him temporarily. Sitting alone in his office, surrounded by legal briefs and unanswered calls, Marcus questioned whether the fight was worth it. That's when Maya's voice broke through the haze. "Do you remember why we started this?" Maya asked, her voice trembling yet resolute. "It's not just about us anymore. It's about every family who's been told they don't belong." Her words pierced through the fog of despair clouding Marcus's mind. He thought of all the faces behind the stories, the countless lives impacted by systemic injustice. "I won't let him win," Marcus murmured, gripping the edge of his desk. Just as resolve reignited, an unexpected ally emerged, bringing with them a glimmer of hope amidst the darkness. Jamal Reed appeared at Marcus's office unannounced, clutching a USB drive. "I risked my badge getting this," Jamal said, sliding the device across the table. "Surveillance footage proving Harold's orchestrated similar incidents before. Use it wisely." Gratitude surged within Marcus as he accepted the evidence. Jamal's courage reminded him that allies existed, even in unlikely places. With renewed determination, Marcus prepared to strike back. The battle wasn't over. If anything, it was only beginning. The crowd of reporters buzzed with anticipation as Marcus Sterling stepped up to the podium outside Carter's diner. Cameras flashed. Microphones jutted forward and the air crackled with tension. Without hesitation, Marcus launched into his address, his voice steady but charged with conviction. "For years, Harold Carter has operated this establishment under a veneer of tradition," Marcus began, holding up documents for all to see. "But beneath that facade lies a pattern of deliberate discrimination, a systematic effort to exclude black patrons and employees." Harold arrived late, pushing through the throng of journalists with Victor Langley at his side. His face flushed with anger as he tried to interrupt. "This is slander," Harold bellowed, pointing an accusatory finger at Marcus. "You're just trying to destroy my business." Marcus didn't flinch. Instead, he leaned closer to the microphone, his next word slicing through the noise like a blade. "My parents were refused service here last week," Marcus said, his tone unyielding. "And guess what? I'm the lawyer who's going to shut you down." For a moment, silence reigned. Harold's bravado faltered, replaced by a flicker of unease. But before Marcus could savor the victory, Victor interjected, warning of legal repercussions. "We'll see you in court," Victor sneered, attempting to salvage some semblance of control. Yet even as they retreated, doubt lingered in Harold's eyes, a crack in his once impenetrable armor. Little did Marcus know, the battle was far from over. A single courtroom decision would soon test not only his resolve, but also his faith in the system itself. Inside the sterile confines of the courtroom, hope quickly unraveled. Despite Jamal Reed's surveillance footage exposing years of discriminatory practices, the judge dismissed it on procedural grounds. The evidence lacks proper authentication, the judge declared, hammering the gavel with finality. Shock rippled through Marcus, followed by a suffocating wave of frustration. Years of preparation, countless hours of research, reduced to nothing because of technicalities. Victor Langley smirked smugly, leaning back in his chair as though the verdict confirmed his superiority. Harold exhaled audibly, relief washing over him. "It's not over," Maya whispered to Marcus during a recess, her hand gripping his shoulder. But for the first time, Marcus questioned whether their fight could truly make a difference. Was the system too broken to deliver justice? Or worse, was it designed to protect people like Harold? As the hearing concluded, defeat loomed heavy in the air. Yet unbeknownst to everyone present, another force was about to tip the scales. Lila Harper had been quietly gathering stories that would ignite outrage far beyond the reach of any courtroom. That evening, Lila published her expose titled, "Behind Closed Doors: The Truth About Carter's Diner." Within hours, the article exploded across social media platforms. Testimonials poured in from former employees and patrons who recounted similar experiences of exclusion and humiliation. "I applied for a job here 3 times, one woman wrote. Each time they told me positions were filled, even though white applicants got hired immediately." Another shared how her family had been turned away mid-meal after being accused of causing disruption simply by speaking Spanish. The public outcry was instantaneous. Protesters gathered outside Carter's diner, chanting slogans like "Justice for the Sterlings." Local authorities, unable to ignore the mounting pressure, intervened. They issued a temporary closure order pending further investigation. Harold watched helplessly as his diner, his pride and livelihood, was forced to lock its doors. For the first time, cracks appeared in his arrogance, replaced by desperation. Marcus received messages of support from strangers nationwide, each one reinforcing his belief in the power of collective action. Yet amidst the chaos, a phone call from an unexpected source left him stunned. It wasn't hatred or hostility, it was confession, and it would challenge everything Marcus thought he knew about vengeance and forgiveness. "Margaret Carter wants to speak with you," the caller announced, her voice trembling. Marcus hesitated, curiosity outweighing suspicion. When Margaret finally spoke, her words struck like lightning. "I funded your scholarship," she admitted softly, "through a program meant to uplift marginalized communities. I never agreed with Harold's views, but I stayed silent for too long." Stunned, Marcus struggled to process the revelation. The woman married to his adversary had unknowingly played a role in shaping his success. "I don't expect absolution," Margaret continued, "but I want you to know, I believe in what you're doing. Don't let Harold win." Her confession left Marcus grappling with conflicting emotions. Could he reconcile this newfound truth with his quest for justice? Or would mercy undermine everything he'd fought for? The answer wouldn't come easily, but whatever choice Marcus made would redefine the legacy of the Sterling name. Harold Carter sat slumped in his chair as the court's final ruling echoed through the room. Fines piled high, forcing him to sell the diner he'd clung to for decades. The once proud establishment would now be owned by a collective of minority entrepreneurs committed to inclusivity. A fitting irony Marcus couldn't help but appreciate. But accountability didn't stop there. Margaret Carter approached Marcus. After the verdict, her eyes filled with quiet resolve. "I want to make amends," she said firmly. "Not just for what Harold did, but for staying silent all these years." She unveiled plans for a foundation dedicated to uplifting marginalized communities, naming it the Sterling Initiative. Funds from her remaining assets would support scholarships, mentorship programs, and advocacy efforts aimed at dismantling systemic inequities. Marcus studied her carefully, searching for sincerity. What he found was undeniable. A woman determined to rewrite her legacy. "Thank you," Marcus said finally, his voice soft but meaningful. "This won't erase the past, but it can shape the future." As Margaret walked away, Marcus felt a strange sense of closure. Not victory over an enemy, but progress toward a shared goal. Still, Redemption wasn't limited to strangers. Closer to home, broken bridges were beginning to mend. Evan found Tyler sitting on the steps of the hardware store where they'd first confronted each other. This time, however, Tyler looked different. Humbled, yet resolute. "I owe you an apology," Tyler began before Evan could say a word. "I should have spoken up that night. I let fear dictate my actions, and I lost sight of who I am because of it." Evan crossed his arms, weighing the sincerity behind Tyler's words. "Now?" he asked pointedly. "And now," Tyler replied, meeting Evan's gaze, "I want to do better. There's a group mentoring young activists. I'm joining them. If you'll have me, I'd like your guidance, too." For a moment, Evan hesitated. Trust once shattered took time to rebuild. But something in Tyler's tone rang true. Slowly, Evan extended his hand. "One step at a time," he said simply. Tyler nodded, relief washing over him. Their friendship wouldn't return to what it was overnight, but perhaps it could become something stronger. A bond forged not only by shared history but by mutual growth. As Evan turned to leave, he caught sight of Maya scrolling through messages on her phone. One name stood out: Rachel Monroe. Whatever awaited next, it promised no shortage of reckoning. Rachel Monroe had always thrived on manipulation, weaving webs of deceit without considering the fallout. But karma proved relentless. At work, whispers spread about her role in leaking private emails. Colleagues distanced themselves, unwilling to associate with someone so blatantly self-serving. Even her toxic social circle abandoned her, tired of her scheming ways. When Maya ran into Rachel days later, the woman appeared visibly shaken. "I never meant for things to go this far," Rachel stammered, her usual confidence replaced by desperation. Maya regarded her coolly. Intentions don't erase consequences. Walking away, Maya felt no satisfaction, only clarity. Rachel's downfall served as a stark reminder. Complicity carried its own price tag. And while forgiveness might come eventually, trust? That was another matter entirely. As Maya stepped outside, she noticed Marcus pacing near his car, phone pressed to his ear. His expression darkened with each passing second. Marcus hung up the call, his mind racing. Anonymous whistleblowers weren't uncommon in his line of work, but rarely did their tips hit so close to home. Corruption within his own law firm. "They're covering up discriminatory hiring practices," the caller explained urgently. "You need to expose it." Marcus exhaled, sharply, frustration mingling with resolve. He'd spent months battling Harold Carter, believing justice lay just beyond the horizon. Now, reality reminded him otherwise. Systemic racism wasn't confined to one man or one diner. It seeped into every corner of society, even places he thought safe. He glanced at his phone again, scrolling through photos of the newly reopened diner. Progress existed, but so did persistence. "It's not enough to win battles," Marcus muttered to himself. "We have to change the war." Determined, he opened his laptop, ready to dive headfirst into the next challenge. The fight against injustice required constant vigilance, and Marcus Sterling refused to back down. As night fell, Maya joined him outside, offering a warm smile that grounded him. Together they headed toward the diner, eager to share a quiet moment amidst the chaos. The diner buzzed with life under its new ownership. Patrons of all backgrounds laughed, ate, and connected, a testament to how spaces could transform when hearts aligned with purpose. Maya stirred her coffee absent-mindedly, watching Evan chat animatedly with the owner. For the first time in months, peace settled over her. "It's not perfect," she murmured half to herself. "No," Marcus agreed, sliding into the booth beside her. "But it's progress." Maya smiled faintly, reflecting on everything they'd endured. The hatred, the betrayal, the victories, both small and monumental. Change hadn't come easily, but it had come. "We won't fix everything overnight," Maya said softly. "But every step counts. Every voice matters." Her words lingered, resonating deeply. They were a reminder that while systems might resist, individuals held power to reshape them, one courageous act at a time. As laughter filled the air and glasses clinked nearby, hope flickered brightly. Not because the journey ended here, but because it continued forward, fueled by resilience and determination. This story shows how small actions can spark big changes. If it moved you, if it made you reflect on fairness and resilience, help us spread the message further. Share this video with others who care about justice, because these conversations matter. Your likes help bring these important issues to more people. And subscribing means you'll stay connected as we tackle more stories like this. Be part of a community that stands for progress and accountability. Every step forward starts with someone willing to act, and your support helps. Keep this movement alive. Let's work together to create meaningful change one step at a time.